Hey, it's Tuesday, so we're doing a live. Thanks so much for joining. All right, so I'm feeling a little bit I wouldn't call it like snarky, but I feel it's kind of weird today. My throat hurts a little bit, which I mean, I feel like most of you probably have this issue at this point too. It's really cold outside. The wind literally started howling last night. So I live in Norman, Oklahoma. My name's Marcie, and I'm a real estate agent. So the wind last night started howling like crazy, and it hasn't stopped. I think that's the part that, like, when I talk to people about moving here, which is all the time, every day, they're like, "Oh, does it get cold? Like, what are the winters like?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's cold, but like to really experience the wind, you have to be here." So that's my opinion. The wind is the worst. But thanks so much for showing up this evening. And if you're watching this not live, like after the fact, which is totally understandable, know that I'm going to go through three different things today. So the first is about the entertainment district in Norman. So this is not something that's like built yet, but something that they're like putting through, maybe voting, maybe not. We're going to talk about that for a second. We're also going to talk about the top or the biggest, the 6 neighborhoods or like the area that's growing the fastest here in the Oklahoma City metro, what neighborhoods to look at, etc. And then we're going to talk about direct flights that you can take from Oklahoma City. So that's really important to me because I travel a lot. I know that's really important to some of you guys because you maybe want to travel more or want to know where to go. And we'll talk more about that. But if you want to hear just the travel part, because I did like kind of say that's what this was about, and it is. I mean, there's other things in the title too. You can skip to the end if you're just wanting to see that part. You are my feelings. It's okay. So, like I said, I'm Marcie Billen. I am a real estate agent here in Norman, Oklahoma. So, thanks so much for joining. Hey, so nice to see you guys. Thanks so much for hopping on with me. I really enjoy this every single week. I didn't know that I would whenever I started doing YouTube lives, but I really do. Make sure to drop your questions in the comments if you have a question. And if you have a question at the very end, and I think James, this happened to you last week, I don't see those comments and I can't get back to them. Like they don't show up in YouTube. It's super weird. So just know that I'm not ignoring you. Okay. So let's jump into our first article. And what I do, guys, like, so I really prepare for this over a couple of days, and I do that. There we go. Here we are. I want this to look different, please. Not like that. Why can't I figure that out? So, hey, Debbie. Nice to see you. So excited to meet you in person. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is this entertainment district that's coming possibly to Norman. So this was a little bit of a confusing article, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to go over it with you a little bit. So of course, how to pay for stuff becomes the big issue. Like everyone wants an entertainment district because it sounds amazing. We can have gymnastics meets there and we can, go to OU basketball games, which I don't go to. They're very loud. Gymnastics are better. But the problem is like how to pay for these things. So here's the points from this article because it was a little bit confusing because they're talking about TIFs. So a TIF is a tax increment financing like fund is how I understand it, right? So they've created an oversight committee to see if or how they would use the TIF to pay for the entertainment district. If you don't know where the entertainment district is going to go, there's this big open field across from like Emmy and Terra Apartments in Norman. And so it's off I-35 and Tecumseh. So University North Park is all of that right there. So it's OU and the town of Norman that's going to like be doing this together. OU is a way that Norman gets a lot of money. So the mayor of the town is Larry Haykilla, and he wants to have, I believe this is what he wants. He wants to do this TIF, this tax increment financing funding for the entertainment district. And what they're kind of fighting over right now is like, do we need to vote on it, or can we just say this is what we're doing? That's what I understand. So the council members are talking about this, and none of the council members are in this photo of all these men here. This is other people. So the council members, some of them are for like using this TIF and some of them are not. And I get what they're saying. So what they're saying is like it can really impact like the general fund for taxes, meaning sales tax and ad valorem taxes, which are property taxes. That's the fancy name for property taxes, is ad valorem taxes. So it seems like what's happening is Councilmember Nash, I don't know which of the districts he's for. I don't know. Or the wards. I don't have them all memorized. But it seems like he wants it to go to a vote because they want like the citizens of Norman to decide if they're going to use the taxes for this or if we need to raise the taxes. So the point of using the TIF is that they wouldn't raise any taxes, sales taxes or property taxes in Norman to pay for the entertainment district. They would use like extra funds somehow, is my understanding. And then another council member said that she wanted to have that money for like the TIF money for the entertainment district, but also have other funds with like small business improvement, neighborhood improvement, and affordable housing funds. And I get that too, because like to me, and especially with the SEC moving into town, giving a lot of power to people that just have all the necessary resources and none of the power to small business, it kind of crushes small businesses in Norman. And we've already seen that to an extent. So the question right now is like, it seems like people are more excited about the entertainment district and the arena that's going to come with that than they were a few years ago with the proposed arena to replace the Lloyd Noble Center. If you don't know, the Lloyd Noble Center is this very ugly building on OU's campus. And it's ugly. It's so bad. My graduation wasn't in there from OU, but my friends had their graduation in there. And it's kind of out in the middle of this like square. It's a square mile. It feels like a square mile. I don't know if it's that big. The parking lot is ridiculous. The building itself is very old. And the major problem is the location in my eyes, because you have to drive like through town to get to this thing. And if you drive through town, then it just causes a lot of traffic. And so they're wanting to have an arena closer to the interstate, because then the idea is that more people will have access to it and it won't be such a menace on the town. So that's where we're at with that. Cool. Thanks for that one. To me, like, I get it. And I want to stay like up to date on what's going on with the entertainment district, but it is very confusing when they start talking about where this money is going to come from, especially when it's like these large amounts of money, right? So yeah, cool. So next, what we've been seeing with new builds. So, when I was growing up, so I grew up in Claremore, Oklahoma, and Claremore is northeast of Tulsa. I grew up on a ranch, and my mom's from northeast Oklahoma, but my dad is actually from more of the metro area, like not the actual metro, but around it. They liked that area up at Claremore a lot more. Tulsa's very different than Oklahoma City is. I've covered that in a few of my videos, or at least in my opinion, it is, right? So whenever I was growing up, Rogers County, which is the county I grew up in, was the fastest growing county in Oklahoma. Well, it's not anymore, apparently. Canadian County is the fastest growing county in Oklahoma, which my opinions on that. Well, I go out there a lot because I sell a lot of houses out there. So what we have here, I have the 6 fastest growing neighborhoods in Canadian County. So if you don't know where Canadian County is, then you need to go and Google Yukon, Oklahoma. And a lot of these neighborhoods are going to be in Yukon School District. Oklahoma City is also in this county. Oklahoma City is giant. It is a huge city. It spans, I think, 3 or 4 counties. But Canadian County is one of those counties. So these neighborhoods, not all of them started in 2020, but some of them did. We have some very specific builders who like to build out there. They are mostly very affordable homes. So it says here, Canadian County is the fastest growing county in Oklahoma, and part of which includes Oklahoma City. So this county's population grew 33.6% from 2010 to 2020, and it hasn't slowed down. So I'm really interested to see those numbers from 2020 to 2023, because I moved a lot of people out there even, right? So there is a slowdown though in the new single family home starts. And I also see that with the market in general in this county. 30 days, totally normal for a house to be on the market. There's just a lot of competition because what we also see and what people don't realize with a new build neighborhood is those first 20 years that neighborhood is built has the highest turnover rate than any other time in that neighborhood's lifespan. So it's really common to see people move after 2 years, etc. So not only do you get the new houses, but you get the high turnover rate from people moving in and out of those houses. That's just the market that we see, not just in Yukon or in Oklahoma City, but also here in Norman. So I'm going to also tell you which builders build in Norman. Yeah, let's do that too. I didn't even think about that. Let's do that. Cool. So the number one here, we have 122 new homes started out in Robertson's Landing. This is a Roush Coleman neighborhood. And typically these houses are going to be, between 190,000 for a brand new house. Those are going to be 1,000 square feet, maybe a little bit smaller than that, up to $275,000. So if you're interested in any information about any of these neighborhoods or any others, just let me know. If you're thinking about moving to Oklahoma, I would be thrilled if you gave me a call to see if I can help you get you the information that you need so that you can make the right decision for you and your family. So, or just you, if it's just you. So number 2 is 121 new homes started. So Roush Coleman, we're going to talk about them over and over again. In this article, they don't have any neighborhoods in Norman. I don't think they have any neighborhoods in South Oklahoma City. No. The thing is, if you look, and I can, let me get the map. Let me get the map for you guys. No, let's do it a different way. Let's do it like this. Google Map. Cool. So here's the map. You guys can see it. Just making sure. So I'm going to zoom out here for you. Here is Oklahoma City. Yukon is here, and I can try to. Yukon is here. So all of these neighborhoods that I'm talking about are somewhere over here, okay? So whenever I think of Oklahoma City, I think of this like box, right? Because you can see it. You can see this box that's created by the intersections of the interstates. Yes, we call them interstates here in Oklahoma, not freeways. There's no free about our interstates. They are toll roads. Not all of them, but they are toll roads, yes. So we have 44, and so 44 goes all the way down through the edge of Yukon, edge of Oklahoma City, and down into Mustang. And then we have I-40 and we have 240. 240 is what I use most often, along with I-35, because I live down here in Norman. So these houses are going to be over here in western Oklahoma City. So down here in Norman, we don't have any Roush Coleman homes. All right, we do have Tabor homes. So Tabor is building 121 new home starts in Tuscany Lakes. These are going to be also very small homes. It's a very different price point for a Tabor home versus a Roush Coleman home. And so that's between 269,000 all the way up to 320,000. You can always recognize a Tabor home because of this chimney. Like I can drive by a neighborhood and that's just a realtor thing too, but I can see those chimneys and say that's Tabor neighborhood. They always have this chimney on them if they have chimneys at all. With Tabor homes, you can build a custom and like pick all of the things inside if you'd like to. With Roush Coleman, you cannot, to my understanding, you cannot build a custom at all with them. Very different style. So then number 3 here is Redstone Ranch. So this is west side of Mustang Road between West Britton and Hefner. So this is in Yukon schools. So this is between $203,000 all the way up to $240,000. Also Roush Coleman, like I said. So they've had 110 new home starts. And then we have Saratoga, which is another Roush Coleman neighborhood. Seems like they bought a lot of land. Yeah. So these areas that are being built on, they were farms. And now they are neighborhoods. And it's been a very quick process. One of the gripes that I have heard over and over again is that, yes, all the housing is fantastic, but the roads in these areas don't support the houses that are there. Because we're talking hundreds and hundreds of people moving into these areas. And a lot of the roads are not designed for that. That is one of the biggest gripes I hear about these areas, but that's just what I hear from people. Cool. So this one's at Sarah Road, Northwest 10th and Northwest 23rd. It's also in Yukon schools, so between 190,000 and 270,000. So then we have another builder in the top 6 here. 91 new home sites started for D.R. Horton at Homestead at Horn Valley. I have sold in this neighborhood. And these houses are going to start at $257,000. Once again, with D.R. Horton, just like Roush Coleman, you can't build a custom home. The homes are very similar to each other, but they're also designed in a way that makes them very useful. So, yeah. And then the last one we have here is Ashton Court, 82 new home sites started, and this is a Lennar neighborhood. So this is one of the first Lennar neighborhoods that I've seen. It's a very big home builder in the US. So these are starting at $248,000 and going up to $276,000. And we are getting a Lennar neighborhood in Norman. It's a very small one. I think it's only 75 units. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. So, like I said before, we don't have these builders. Besides Tabor, we do have Tabor in Norman, although they don't have an entire neighborhood going right now. I don't even think they have many new builds down in South Norman at the moment. The builders that we tend to have, we have Ideal Homes and we have Home Creations. Like I said, we have a little bit of Tabor, we have Remington. All these are very local. Like the owners of these companies live in Norman. Where what I'm seeing here in Canadian County is these are national chains, like national builders. D.R. Horton's national, Roush Coleman is national, and Lennar is national. So I'm guessing it's cheap land is why. Norman land is not cheap. So I'm guessing that's the reason. But it's a really interesting thing that I'm seeing here. The national brands versus the local ones here in the South Metro. So we'll see what happens. Cool. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. I like that. All right. So I really like to travel. And one of the things that used to be very difficult about Oklahoma City and Tulsa is that it was really hard to get places. And I'm not saying it's super easy. It's not like I live in New York City and I can hop on a flight to London and be there in 8 hours. That is not the way that it works. But I can tell you, in my own personal experience, that the travel from both Tulsa and Oklahoma City, mostly Oklahoma City, that's where I live. I don't fly out of Tulsa very much anymore. It is so much better than it was. Like, we just had a big renovation on our airport, so it makes it really nice. Guys, I can show up for my flight an hour before it's supposed to take off and get through security most of the time. Like, that's pretty cool. You can't do that in a lot of places. Like, for instance, I had to show up 3 hours early for a flight, to Tokyo. It's a lot. It's different, right? Or in Tokyo as I was flying out of it. So we have that. It's really easy to get through stuff. We also have airport parking. That's amazing, right? So one of the things that I've heard about other cities with airport parking is that it's very expensive. Like, one of my friends told me once she had to pay $50 a day to park at Boston's airport, like Boston Logan. And I was like, oh my gosh. I usually pay $6 a day to park at Oklahoma City's airport. And no, I don't pay for covered parking. I am a very frugal girly. This is how it is. And so I park if we're going to be gone less than 7 days, then I park at the airport because it's $6 a day. It's less than the cost of a Lyft or an Uber. So that is why I do that. And yes, it's protected. Like, there's a fence around it and stuff. So that, I think it's awesome. So there are direct flights that you can take from Oklahoma City to other places. And I use this to plan my travel. So if I'm traveling internationally, I fly United. That's what I like, flying United. That's my airline. And I like that their hub in the South is Houston. And I like that I can get home easily from there. They have a lot of flights from Houston to Oklahoma City. It makes me very happy. So I'm going to cover some of these and tell you if I've taken these flights or how easy it is, etc. So you can fly nonstop from Oklahoma City to Atlanta with Delta. I have not done this. I have not been to Atlanta. I don't really want to go to Atlanta, although it sounds like I might be going this year. Let's see. James told us how much parking was. Okay. It's $15 a day parking in Las Vegas, about $65 in San Diego. That is on par with what I've heard. So thank you for piping in with that. $15 isn't bad in Las Vegas. And I kind of can see how they can get away with that too. So cool. Awesome. Okay. So I haven't done this Atlanta flight. I don't like flying Delta. Tell me if you've taken it. Austin, I have done American Airlines and I haven't done Southwest. I think I've done Southwest to San Antonio. So my experience with American Airlines is that I booked the nonstop flight and then those guys switched it on me to, having a connection. Typically in Dallas, which really makes me mad. I think I actually flew to Denver, but I'm not positive. That has been my major gripe with airlines, is that I book the nonstop and then they switch it on me. Like, that makes me really mad, but they do it all the time. Southwest, I haven't had an issue with. I don't think with doing that, but American Airlines, yes. United has done it to me as well. Charlotte, I have not been to Charlotte. Like I said, I don't really fly American. I had a very terrible experience with American where they did strand me in Dallas a few months ago. And I'll just get to that in a second. I'll get to it in a second. Cool. You can get to Chicago Midway. So that's a Southwest airport. I have done that. And I highly recommend doing a weekend trip to Chicago because it's a really cool city. We had a lot of fun, even though we went, in the winter time. And you can also get to a Chicago O'Hare direct on American and United. I haven't done that. I prefer the Southwest route when I'm doing stuff like that, but that's just my opinion. And then you can get to, of course, you can get to Dallas Fort Worth direct. It's a 3.5 hour drive from Oklahoma City to DFW, which I think is the problem. And what happened to me was that I was flying from Austin to Oklahoma City And of course, I have a connection in Dallas because they won't do that direct. And they canceled the flights for weather, apparently. And I was stranded there. And ultimately, like, it felt like, and I'm not saying this is what happened on their end, but it felt like they didn't care that we were stranded because they knew that someone could come and pick us up. Like, you can pretty easily get home from there because, like, it's 3 hours. And that's exactly what happened. My husband came and got me. So, yeah, really fun times. Drive to Dallas or take the train. You can take the train to Fort Worth, but it's annoying. Drive to Dallas. Denver, I love doing that direct flight to Denver. I always take United. I've never flown Frontiers, and I don't think I've ever flown Southwest to Denver. You can go to Destin Fort Walton Airport directly with Allegiant Airlines in the summer. Destin is one of the popular vacation places for Oklahomans. I've been once for a friend's wedding, but yeah, it's a thing. So you can look on Allegiant's website and see the direct flights. I think it's like a Tuesday, Sunday flight. Like, you go on a Tuesday and come back on a Sunday or something like that. Check it out if you're interested in going to the beach in Florida. Destin Beach is really nice. So yeah. You can get, of course, to Houston Hobby. I have done that with Southwest. And of course, to Houston Intercontinental. I have done that with United. I prefer that. I always prefer flying to United's hubs because it makes, I want to make sure I get home. And that is the way to do it. So flying from Houston to Oklahoma City, I've rarely had an issue with this. And that's why I do that. So James. All right. So this year I'm hoping to fly to DFW and drive up to Oklahoma City to check out the metro. Just unsure when I can check that trip since I have a very busy. Oh, when you can take that trip. Yeah. I usually like do my stuff a month in advance, maybe. I've seen people do less, but yes, I have a lot of people when they come into town, they drive or they fly into DFW and then drive the 3 hours. I just drive that drive a lot, so I'm not really a fan of doing it all the time. But yes, I understand, and it's a lot cheaper to do that. We have friends that when they fly to Asia, they will drive to Dallas and get on a flight to Taipei or Seoul or something like that, which sounds exhausting to me, but you know, I get it. It is a lot cheaper to do that. So I understand. You can also fly to Las Vegas on Southwest. I have done that before. You can fly to LA. I will take a connection if it means I don't have to go to LAX. That's my opinion. And I don't like flying American. So yeah, I had no idea that you could fly to Miami, which is nice. Of course, it's with American, which isn't my favorite, but it's nice because of the cruises, right? I haven't been on a cruise before. We were just talking about one the other day, so that might be interesting. But I haven't vacationed in Miami, so that might be a really good option. You can fly directly to Minneapolis, which is Delta's hub. Makes sense that you could fly directly there. I didn't know that you could fly to Nashville directly. So the hard thing about Nashville is like you need a car. But I think it's a little bit easier now than it used to be to maybe get around without one or taking lifts because they're cheaper now than whenever I used to travel more to Nashville. So, but that would definitely be like a fun trip. New York LaGuardia. I think I've never flown the direct flights. I'm so sad that United got rid of the Newark direct flight. I prefer Newark, and that's United's hub in the East. So I'm sad that they got rid of that, but they got rid of it during COVID. LaGuardia Airport is like traveling back in time. But yeah, definitely American and Delta on that end. I think flying to Asia, you usually fly through there a lot of the time. And then we have Orlando. I think I've done that, but I've done it to Sanford. No. I've done it to Orlando because that was Southwest. Southwest is not at Sanford anymore. And Phoenix, I have not done that. I really don't like Phoenix, but definitely, like, I have a lot of people that have been inquiring about Oklahoma from Phoenix. So there's a direct flight. So check it out for sure. I know Southwest has a really bad reputation right now. Might be worth and they have a sale. They have a sale right now. I was just checking it out this morning. It's like 40% off. So yeah. Salt Lake City, I have a client that does that one a lot. San Antonio, I have flown nonstop on Southwest from Oklahoma City to San Antonio. Recommend. I haven't got to explore San Antonio because I was somewhere else. I had to take a lift somewhere else, but definitely do that. I've never flown to St. Louis, but you can on Southwest direct. So yeah, I think I've only driven to St. Louis. Tampa, you can fly on Breeze. I have not heard of this airline, and Southwest. And then Ronald Reagan, which is Washington National, you can do American and Southwest, which I didn't know. And I'm really interested to do that because I do want to go to DC, which Ronald Reagan is Arlington, which is DC. But what I'm saying with all of this is there's a lot of places you can go with the direct flight. And I love direct flights because to me, it's the difference between feeling like a refreshed human and feeling like I have a hangover if I have to do an up down, which is, connection. So that's my opinion, but I really appreciate you guys watching. If you got something out of this, please hit the like button and I will see you guys next week.